All right, so maybe I was wrong about this whole Hendon Hooker as the lock backup quarterback thing.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's final day of March, everybody, and it's Locked On Lions. Welcome in on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Matt Derry with you. Today is Monday, March 31st into Tuesday, April 1st. We are getting into draft season hardcore right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us your first listen. Thanks for checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. I know today is usually a mock draft Monday. We're going to bump that to tomorrow because Brad Holmes spoke today, and I want to get into the comments that the Lions general manager made at today's owners meetings down in West Palm Beach, Florida. We'll get into all of that today right here on Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you to the everydayers that are out there that watch the show on YouTube or listen to the podcasts anywhere. That includes my guy, Lance Meister. I met Lance Friday night at the Pistons game. Had a lot of fun down at the LCA. Pistons played a whale of a game without Tobias Harris, without Cade Cunningham. They beat the Cavs. Pistons are damn good. All right. And I know some of you get your newspapers, you're free pressing your news, and you read your little columns about Max Clark, and you coddle up the Tigers, and they lost opening night against the Dodgers, but golly gee, Tarek Skubal. How about a column about this basketball team? You got national guys like Vinny Goodwill at Yahoo Sports wrote a great piece about how the bad boys are back. My gosh, this Pistons team is fun. They got an identity, and they're the talk of the league. There's a lot of people in the league that don't like them. These other teams are in their heads. It's awesome. So I was at the game Friday night. I ran into Lance Meister. One of my listeners came up, said hello, and is a huge Lions fan. So thank you, Lance, for being an everydayer. We'll get to our call of the day a little bit later on in the show. If you want to be our call of the day, you can leave a message at speakpipe.com/Dairy podcast page. We'll pick the best one and play one, which we will do today. Brad Holmes spoke today at the owners meetings down in Florida. A lot of comments about the roster. I want to get into a lot of things that Brad had to say today, including a discussion about Hendon Hooker, Za'Darius Smith, and much, much more. I want to get to that right here on Locked On Lions. Tomorrow, Dan Campbell is going to talk to the media. He did speak with Dan Miller of Fox 2 today, which they're playing that extended tonight and on the news later on today. But I want to get to a lot of Dan Campbell's comments and a mock draft tomorrow. Here's what I want to start with, though. I am wrong. I am making an apology today that I didn't think I would have to make. But last week, I read you a piece from Benjamin Solak's column at ESPN.com where he had the Lions, I think, number 4 in terms of off seasons and free agent classes. And one of the things he said was he was concerned about the signing of Kyle Allen because he believes that Hendon Hooker's in some trouble as the backup quarterback. And what does that say about Hooker that Kyle Allen was signed? I said that day when we did the show, I think it was last week, that I can't keep my days straight. I'm like, the Lions aren't signing Kyle Allen to be the backup quarterback. He's a number 3 guy. He was number 3 guy in Pittsburgh last year, etc. I don't think they're as down on Hendon Hooker as Ben Solak made it out to be. Well, my apologies, because after today, I was completely wrong. Asked about the Kyle Allen signing today and what that meant for Hendon Hooker, Brad Holmes insisted that while he hasn't lost confidence in Jared Goff's backup, Hendon Hooker is going to have to win the job, and this is a competition. First of all, I'm going to say this again. Kyle Allen is no good. He's taken 1 snap in 2 years. He was the backup in Buffalo and never played 2 years ago. He was the 3rd stringer in Pittsburgh last year and threw 1 pass. He's never been good, ever. I don't mean to pick on this poor guy, but he's not good. 2 years in Carolina, bad. 2 years in Washington, not good. 1 year in Houston, terrible. was brought in to be the starter after they benched Davis Mills in 2022. He played 2 games. He threw 4 picks, 2 interceptions, and completed like under 60% of his passes and got benched again. Played in Buffalo in 23 and never saw the field. And last year played in 1 game for Pittsburgh as their 3rd string. And oh, by the way, the Steelers don't even think anything of the first 2 quarterbacks they had on their roster last year because they're both gone. Russell Wilson's in New York and Justin Fields is in New York with the Jets. So, okay, let me focus. Back to Brad Holmes. On Hendon Hooker, quote, this from the Free Press and Dave Burkett. Quote, still got high hopes for him, but nobody's going to be given a job either. So if Hendon wants to be the number 2 quarterback, then win the number 2 quarterback job. Okay. Last year in 3 games, he completed 6 out of 9 passes for 62 yards. As we discussed last week, the Lions late in the year signed Teddy Jam for Me Bridgewater to a contract in December after the high school season ended, and Teddy won a state championship, and he was Goff's backup. And now, yes, as Dave Burkett points out, journeyman Kyle Allen is on a 1-year deal, and he's only, and like his only guarantee is $100,000. That's it. Kyle Allen has played for 5 teams in 7 years. The Lions also have, gulp, Jake Fromm on the roster too. Whee! Oh, God. More from Holmes on Hooker. He said it's competition. Quote, that's all it is. I mean, look, we like Hendon. We're excited about him. I've always said about Hendon, kind of a lot of steps on his journey coming out of high school and at Va Tech or Tennessee. It wasn't immediately that he was the guy. So he had the injury the first year, then last year. That was the first year that he kind of was able to do a full year of training camp and during the season. Then we brought Teddy Bridgewater in just because we were gearing up for the playoffs and postseason, and he just wasn't ready yet. And he understood that. End quote. Ay, ay, ay. Bringing in some competition. Oh. No, we love him. No, we love him. But here's Kyle Allen. It's not like they went out and signed Jameis Winston, who's a legitimate backup. No, I don't think Jameis Winston's any great shakes either. Look, Jared Goff plays all the snaps. Jared Goff is the guy. The Lions have a good offensive line. Knock on wood. Jared Goff's going to be just fine. Not exactly a rousing vote of confidence for Hendon Hooker. Jeez. Yeah, he's going to compete with Kyle Allen and Jake Fromm. What's Bob Galliano up to? Where's Don the Magic Man Mikowski? Chuck Long available? So Hendon Hooker went the entire season, August, September, October, November, December, and he wasn't ready to be the backup. And again, he played a lot in the preseason, played some in the regular season in mop-up duty, but my apologies to Ben Solak at ESPN.com because he must have had some better information than me. But it doesn't sound like Hendon Hooker is exactly rubber stamped to be the guy as the backup quarterback. And if Hendon Hooker can't beat out Kyle Allen to be the backup quarterback, he's not going to be able to beat the Bears on a Sunday. He's not going to be able to beat the Vikings. He's not going to be able to beat the Niners or the Ravens or anybody else on the schedule. If you can't outlast Kyle Allen, not a good sign, in my opinion. So I'm rooting for the kid. I hope Hendon Hooker has a great camp. And all of this is just a little bit of a fire lit under his a backside. That's all the hope is here. All right. But, you know, as Marshall Mathers once said, 2 trailer park girls going round the outside, round the outside, round the outside. Man. I'm not exactly breaming with confidence here on the backup quarterback situation. I know I just spent 9 minutes on it. I promise I won't do it again. All right. we've got ourselves a Za'Darius Smith update. We will get to that coming up next. More from Brad Holmes' comments down in West Palm Beach. We're going to have some competition at guard. He's thrilled Levi Onwuzurike's back. We'll do all of that. Jameson Williams, will his fifth-year option be picked up? We'll get into all of that coming up next right here on a Monday edition of Locked On Lions. And Locked On Lions today brought to you by FanDuel. As you know, the Final Four and March Madness are here. FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. No Cinderellas here. 4, count them, 4 1 seeds heading to the Final Four next weekend. You want to get in on the Florida game or the Houston Duke game or anything like that, Florida and Auburn. I believe Duke's about a 4.5 point favorite. An unnamed family member of mine is telling me, I like Houston plus the points. Well, you can do all of that on FanDuel. The FanDuel app is simple to use as well. And when you win, you get paid instantly. So no waiting around. Visit FanDuel.com to get in on the college hoops action as we head to the Final Four weekend this next weekend in San Antonio. That's FanDuel.com. Hope everybody had a great weekend. We're back with a fresh set of shows this week right here on Locked On Lions, Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. West Palm Beach, Florida is where the owners' meetings are taking place. Yes, there's a lot of discussion about the tush push. Teams really pushing hard, no pun intended, to get rid of this thing. And it sounds like it's going to go to a vote soon and may win. I think that's ridiculous. If you don't like that it's a play, stop the play. Quarterback gets the snap and he gets some help from his guys. That means all 11 guys on offense are in that vicinity between the guards and the center. Put all your defenders there and stop it. I can't believe that we're really going to ban the tush push. Well, it's closing in. Sounds like it's very, very close. So we'll see. But it sounds like the Lions, from what I was reading, are not for banning the tush push. Therefore, to keeping it. We'll see. Lions want to get rid of illegal contact and defensive holding being an automatic first down. We'll see if that gets voted in or not. But my guess is no. All right. What's the latest on Zadarius Smith? Why are the Lions letting Zadarius Smith go? Of course, he had a $7 million roster bonus that needed to kick in March. Lions cut him before that bonus came in. Brad Holmes said today on Zadarius Smith, quote, and this from Justin Rogers at Detroit Football Network, quote, it was an amicable decision. We couldn't afford it. Bottom line, that was my communication with him, and he understood that. Again, it's an expensive position. Like I told you guys at the combine, it's not being ignored. Everybody is asking for one defensive end. We'd love to get 3 or 4. It's something that's not being ignored. We just weren't in a position to keep him at his salary because, look, he played some good snaps for us and he made plays for us when we acquired him. So we would have loved to have been able to keep him. We just weren't able to. Holmes saying basically Zadarius Smith, too expensive. He also went on to say that he's too expensive because his contract and how it is worked and worded and everything else and formulated cuts into the 2026 cap and even a little bit into 2027. But they're staying in contact with Smith's agents, and there's a chance that maybe if they can get him down to a contract that they can afford, maybe closer to training camp, then they would do something with him. But he's saying that it's a more fiscally responsible situation here when it comes to getting players. Holmes also said, if I was just a fan, as much as I love our fans, I'd feel the same way. Like, hey, splash, go get guys, spend the money, let's go. But I just wanted to make sure the fans understand that we're being disciplined in our approach because we're trying to win now and also sustain what we want to do. So plenty of guys that Brad Holmes says they're staying in contact with, some younger guys on the team as well. They're trying to extend. So I think he was talking about Kirby Joseph. He also knows they've got to extend Aiden Hutchinson, etc. Now, in that group of young players, as we all know, is also Jameson Williams. Lions have until, I believe, May to figure out if they want to pick up his 5th-year option or not. Holmes said today, it looks, quote, it's heading that way. We're most likely going to be doing that for JMO. He was a tremendous player for us last year. He's still scratching the surface. I do think he's got more in him as well. I just think it just makes sense for us to do what we can to keep him around. As far as a long-term extension, though, Holmes was not as committed to that. We're still taking it as it goes, Brad said. Look, his 5th-year option, it's looking likely we'll pick that up. But in terms of an extension, again, a lot of extensions that are hopefully coming. That's just one that you just don't know what's going to happen from a financial standpoint, because a wide receiver, it's expensive. It's very expensive. Little reading between the lines here and reading the tea leaves on Jameson Williams. Absolutely, it would be expensive to be paying him $25 to $30 million a year. All right. The 5th-year option would likely cost between $20 and $22 million a year. But here's also what Brad Holmes is saying. Jameson Williams, while he is a tremendous talent, and yes, I've been accused of being on this show a hater, there's got to be more of a consistency with him. He also has to be on the field. He can't get suspended again this year. He can't miss time and can't miss games because of poor choices. Jameson Williams has made some bad choices. So they're not going to commit long-term and big dollars to a guy who is getting suspended and making poor choices. On the field, yes, he's tremendous. He's that deep threat the Lions have needed and have been waiting for years. He is an awesome talent. And yeah, you want him around. But now heading into year 4, let's see an even bigger jump from him. Let's see him stay on the field. And then make the Lions have to make that call. But again, more of a priority right now in terms of extensions. Kirby Joseph, who's up after this year. Aiden Hutchinson, who's up in a couple of years. Those are 2 guys Brad Holmes wants to keep. So interesting commentary, certainly from Holmes down in Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, Florida at the Breakers. I once had breakfast at the Breakers when I was a kid. My grandparents had a place down there. Not at the Breakers, but in West Palm Beach, South Ocean Boulevard. So we'll see on JMO. As far as replacing Kevin Zeitler and what the Lions are going to do at the guard market, in the guard market, Holmes said the team wasn't going to be able to bring back everybody because they were priced out, especially with Zeitler. What about Christian Mahogany moving right in? Holmes said, quote, it's a small sample size of the starts that Mahogany made, but they were promising, they were encouraging. We still feel like he has starter level ability, but he's still a young player, so we need to make sure that he has competition. They did bring back Coyote Awashika the other day as some veteran insurance, but it sounds like Brad Holmes is looking at possibly adding another veteran guard to the mix. We have mentioned that Will Hernandez is still on the board, coming back from a torn ACL, injured last year in Arizona. Maybe that's an option for the Lions. But yes, they're going to be adding some semblance of competition, and they are looking at veteran offensive linemen as we speak. But again, they're not making any big splashes. Holmes said today that they are done signing big free agents. They love DJ Reed. They love the fact that they got Levi Onwuzurike back. Holmes said today, if you were going to tell me we're going to get that done with Levi when we were first trying to get him extended back in the fall, I would have been doing a backflip, and literally almost was doing a backflip. Of course, they got Onwuzurike on a 1-year deal at around $5.5 million. So Holmes very happy about that. Very happy about that. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's going to be veteran players that are going to be around that the Lions can grab, likely on 1-year deals, whether it's a June 1st cut, whether it's a guy like I mentioned, like Hernandez, that's still available. And who knows? We mentioned Tyron Smith the other day. Look, he's a tackle. But what if a Tyron Smith told his agent, put me on a Super Bowl contender and I'll slide to guard? All right. That's a long shot, but what if that happened? The Lions are a place that players want to play now and want to go. And they want to play for Dan Campbell, and they would love to play for a guy like Hank Fraley. So having a great conversation today with Sean Mercino and Joe Allen and I'm going to tell you more about their podcast when we make this official and the show airs. But they do a show about mergers and acquisitions. But we were talking about having the experience of, let's say, selling your business and how people want to work with people that do that. And this is the same thing. Offensive linemen want to work with a guy like Hank Fraley because he's been there and done that. That's what the beauty of the Dan Campbell coaching staff was the last couple of years, is all these guys that were former players. They're damn good coaches. All right. And look, there's plenty of coaches that never played the game at that level, but Campbell's staff has so many guys that have played at a high level that it resonated with the players. It really did. So you love to see that. And again, Dan Campbell will talk to the assembled media and all the Detroit writers tomorrow. By the way, Aaron Glenn spoke today because the AFC coaches talked today and the NFC coaches will talk tomorrow. And Aaron Glenn was raving about DJ Reed and said they knew they were going to lose him because he was too expensive. But that's a guy that is feisty and can tackle. And Glenn said that's a corner that fits the Lions perfectly. Brad Holmes said the same thing today, that they just love his makeup. So that's going to be pretty cool. All right, coming up next, call of the day. If you want to be our call of the day, you can do that at www.speakpipe.com/dairy podcast page. Monday edition, everybody, of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As many of you know, maybe you don't, back in 2016, after I was ousted from Detroit Sports 105.1, as I like to call it, the now defunct Detroit Sports 105.1. Look, the station was terrible, did not work out. We all tried hard. It was a lot of fun. But regardless, I taught for 3 years at U of D Jesuit High School, media and communications, journalism. I had a blast. And our call of the day today came out of nowhere. One of my former colleagues at U of D, Mr. Bukta, checks in on today's call of the day. Let's take a listen.
Hey, Matt, this is Bob Bukta from Farmington Hills. We were colleagues on the faculty at U of D Jesuit a few years ago. Since I found your YouTube channel through my son a year and a half ago, I've been an everydayer ever since. I suspect I'm different from most of your viewers in one way, and that is that I remember the last time the Lions won an NFL championship. I was a little kid in 1957, and my most vivid memory from those playoffs was watching the semifinal game on our black and white TV. It was in San Francisco, and the Lions were behind 24-7 at halftime, but came back to win it. Almost the perfect mirror opposite of the Lions' last playoff game in San Francisco. What surprises me most now is the money. I found out that regular season Lions tickets in the bleachers at Briggs Stadium cost $2. And Joe Schmidt, maybe the best defensive player in football, made a salary of $15,000 that year, only about 3.5 times as much as the average American wage earner then. I have 2 questions, Matt. One, if you could magically invent a time machine and bring those 57 Lions into today's NFL, could they adapt? And 2, how do you explain the incredible explosion of salaries since then? Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Bukta, it's so great to hear Bob's voice. Just a legendary teacher at U of D Jesuit for many, many years that retired right around the time that I had left as well. Very, very good man. He asked a lot of very good questions there. And yes, going back to 57, rebuilding since 57. No, seriously, that's pretty cool to have a listener and a viewer of ours that remembers those days. The first question he asked me, could the 1957 Lions adapt? I hate comparing eras. I know we talk about that with LeBron and Michael Jordan, and in NBA, that's a big discussion all the time about comparing eras. The guys back then were so tough, and they had jobs in the offseason, and it was a different type of game for sure. A lot more running of the football and basic blocking and tackling than now just the athleticism. I think the biggest issue for the 57 team and for players playing in that era was I think the athleticism now that the current players have, especially at the skill position, the skill positions, the wide receivers, the running backs, and, smallish cornerbacks back then trying to hang with the likes of like a Calvin Johnson in today's game, or a Randy Moss or a Justin Jefferson. Yeah, they could play hard, and yeah, they were tough. But I think the game is so much faster today than it was back then. Number two, as far as the salaries being out of control, and will we ever go back to $2 tickets at Briggs Stadium? No way. We're not going to do it. It's the horses, Mr. Bukta, are out of the barn, brother. Out of the barn. I've already looked at tickets on the Gametime app. We love our friends at Gametime for some of the games coming up this year. I know we don't have dates yet of the games, but tickets for Lions games already on the secondary market are outrageous. Outrageous. Like, if you really want to go see the Lions this year and not pay an arm and a leg and just get into the stadium and maybe take your family, if you have a lot of kids or something, probably the best bet is to go for a preseason game, just to at least experience the experience of Ford Field. And the Lions do a great job at Ford Field, and it is a fun experience. But no, right now, the Lions tickets are the most expensive seat in the NFL. There is a massive demand by many of you guys and girls, and you should want to see this team. They're fun. They won 15 freaking games last year. But no, gone are the days, the money. Yes. Joe Schmidt, him talking about making 15 grand a year. I mean, can you imagine? We've talked about some of these players this year in free agency that are, J.C. Horn. If I went down Woodward Avenue today and asked 10 people who J.C. Horn was, I would say 0 out of 10 would know who he was. Maybe 1 out of 10. He's getting $25 million a year to play corner for Carolina. He's a good player, but $25 million a year for a guy that not many people know. That's where we're at right now in all professional sports, not just in the NFL. All right, we're back again tomorrow. We will do a mock draft tomorrow. I also hear from Dan Campbell. Dan, tomorrow, right here on Locked On Lions. Have a great rest of your Monday, everybody.